नमस्ते बिटिया, सदा खुश रहो। Myself Dr. Hemant Vyas, Associate Professor and Head of Department of Surgery, Faculty of Homeopathic Science, Jyoti Vidyapith, Women's University, Jaipur. Today, in today's session, we are going to discuss about an important topic, which is vertigo. Vertigo is actually a symptom and it is not a disease. So this symptom is related to many symptom complexes or many syndromes or many diseases. So in today's session we are going to discuss or we are going to learn about various diseases in which vertigo occurs. So let's study some terminologies so that we can easily understand what vertigo is. So first, equilibrium is the ability to maintain orientation of the body and its parts in relation to external space. The equilibrium depends on continuous visual, labyrinthine and somatosensory input and its integration in the brainstem and cerebellum. So we can see that the equilibrium or how we stand, it actually depends on three things. First thing is our visual inputs, that is inputs from our vision or eyes, then our labyrinth, which is inner ear. Generally vestibule is associated with the positioning or equilibrium, and third thing is somatosensory inputs, that is proprioceptors. These proprioceptors are distributed throughout our body and they are mainly present in our joints. Then disorders of equilibrium result from diseases that affect central or peripheral vestibular pathways, the cerebellum or sensory pathways involved in proprioception. Such disorders usually present with one or two clinical problems, that is vertigo or ataxia. Now vertigo is the illusion of movement of the body or the environment. It means the patient feels either he is rotating or the environment is rotating around him. Distinction between vertigo and other symptoms. Vertigo must be distinguished from non-vertiginous dizziness, which includes sensations of lightheadedness, faintness or giddiness not associated with an illusion of movement. In contrast to vertigo, these sensations are produced by conditions that impair the brain's supply of blood, oxygen or glucose, excessive vagal stimulation, orthostatic hypotension, cardiac arrhythmias, myocardial ischemia, hypoxia or hypoglycemia may be responsible for this and may culminate in loss of consciousness. So vertigo and dizziness are two different things. Now types of vertigo. There are generally two types of vertigo, peripheral and central. In peripheral, the vertigo is often intermittent and severe, whereas in central it is often constant and usually less severe. The nystagmus is always present. It is unidirectional and never vertical in peripheral vertigo, whereas in central vertigo it may be absent, uni or bidirectional and may be vertical. Associated findings in peripheral vertigo: hearing loss or tinnitus is often present, whereas it is absent or rarely present in central vertigo. Intrinsic brainstem signs are absent in peripheral, whereas they are typically present in central vertigo. Benign positional vertigo, it is an important type. Positional vertigo occurs upon assuming a particular head position. It is usually associated with peripheral vestibular lesions, but also may be due to central, brainstem or cerebellar diseases. Benign positional vertigo is the most common cause of vertigo of peripheral origin, accounting for about 30% of cases. The most frequently identified cause is head trauma, but in most instances, no cause can be determined. The pathophysiological basis of benign positional vertigo is thought to be canalolithiasis, stimulation of the semicircular canal by debris floating in the endolymph. The syndrome is characterized by brief, seconds to minutes, episodes of severe vertigo that may be accompanied by nausea and vomiting. The symptoms may occur with any change in head position but are usually most severe in the lateral decubitus position with the affected ear down. Episodic vertigo typically continues for several weeks and then resolves spontaneously. In some cases it is recurrent. Hearing loss is not a feature. Peripheral and central causes of positional vertigo usually can be distinguished on physical examination by means of the Nylén-Barney or Dix-Hallpix maneuver. Positional nystagmus always accompanies vertigo in the benign disorders and is typically unidirectional, rotatory, and delayed in onset by several seconds after assumption of the precipitating head position. The mainstay of treatment is most cases of benign positional vertigo of peripheral origin. Canalolithiasis is the use of that employ the force of gravity to move endolymphatic debris out of the semicircular canal and into the vestibule where it can be reabsorbed. So we can see the maneuver. Next, Meniere's disease also has vertigo. It is characterized by repeated episodes of vertigo lasting from minutes to days, accompanied by tinnitus and progressive sensorineural hearing loss. Most cases are sporadic, but familial occurrence also has been described and may show anticipation or earlier onset in successive generations. Some cases appear to be related to mutations in the cochlear gene or chromosome 14q12 q13. Onset is between the ages of 20 and 50 years in about 3/4 of cases, and men are affected more often than women. The cause is thought to be an increase in the volume of labyrinthine endolymph, that is endolymphatic hydros, but the pathogenetic mechanism is not known yet. At the time of first acute attack, patients already may have noted the insidious onset of tinnitus, hearing loss, and a sensation of fullness in the ear. Acute attacks are characterized by vertigo, nausea, and vomiting and recur at intervals ranging from weeks to years. Hearing deteriorates in a stepwise fashion with bilateral involvement reported in 10 to 70% of patients. As hearing loss increases, vertigo tends to become less severe. Acute peripheral vestibulopathies. This term is used to describe a spontaneous attack of vertigo of inappropriate cause that resolves spontaneously and is not accompanied by hearing loss or evidence of central nervous system dysfunction. It includes disorders diagnosed as acute labyrinthitis, which are based on unverifiable inferences about the site of disease and the pathogenetic mechanisms. A recent antecedent febrile illness can sometimes be identified, however. The disorder is characterized by vertigo, nausea, and vomiting of acute onset, typically lasting up to two weeks. Symptoms may recur and some degree of vestibular dysfunction may be permanent. During an attack, the patient, who appears ill, typically lies on one side with the affected ear upward and is reluctant to move his or her head. Nystagmus with the fast phase away from the affected ear is always present. The vestibular response to caloric testing is defective in one or both ears with about equal frequency. Audiometry acuity is normal. Then toxic vestibulopathies like alcohol may also cause vertigo. Alcohol causes an acute syndrome of positional vertigo because of its differential distribution between the scapula and endolymph of the inner ear. Alcohol initially diffuses into the cupula, reducing its density relative to the endolymph. This difference in density makes the peripheral vestibular apparatus unusually sensitive to gravity and thus to position. With time, alcohol also diffuses into the endolymph and the density of cupula and endolymph equalize, eliminating the gravitational sensitivity. As the blood alcohol level declines, alcohol levels of cupula before it leaves the endolymph. This produces a second phase of gravitational sensitivity that persists until the alcohol diffuses out of the endolymph also. Alcohol-induced positional vertigo typically occurs within 2 hours after ingesting ethanol in amount sufficient to produce blood level in excess of 40 mg per dl. It is characterized clinically by vertigo and nystagmus in the lateral recumbent position and is accentuated when the eyes are closed. The syndrome lasts up to about 12 hours and consists of 2 symptomatic phases separate by an asymptomatic interval of 1 to 2 hours. Other signs of alcohol intoxication such as spontaneous nystagmus, dysarthria and gait ataxia are caused primarily by cerebellar dysfunctions. Aminoglycosides, streptomycin, gentamicin, tabromycin, aminoglycoside concentrates in the perilymph and endolymph and exert their ototoxic effects by destroying sensory hair cells. So the risk of toxicity is related to drug doses, plasma concentration and duration of the therapy. Salicylates are the medicines which can also affect the inner ear to cause vertigo. Vestibular paroxysmia. Vestibular paroxysmia is characterized by brief seconds to minute episodes of vertigo occurring suddenly without any apparent trigger. The disorder may be analog to hemifacial spasm and trigeminal neuralgia, which are felt to be due to spontaneous discharge from partially damaged nerve. In patients with vestibular paroxysmia, unilateral dysfunction can sometimes be identified on vestibular or auditory testing. Central nervous system disorders. The key to the diagnosis of CNS disorder in patients presenting with dizziness are the presence of other focal neurological symptoms identifying central ocular motor abnormalities and ataxia. Brainstem ischemia can also sometimes result into vertigo. Vertigo is most common symptom with Wallenberg syndrome. Ischemia of the cerebellum can cause vertigo as the most prominent or only symptom. Computed tomography, that is CT scan of the posterior fossa, are not a sensitive test for ischemic stroke. Abnormal ocular motor finding in patient with brainstem or cerebral stroke includes spontaneous nystagmus, that is purely vertical, horizontal or torsional, direction changing gaze evoked nystagmus, impairment of the smooth pursuit, overshooting saccades. Patient with brainstem or cerebral infarction need immediate attention because herniation or recurrent stroke can occur. Dizziness is a common symptom in patients with multiple sclerosis. Vertigo is the initial symptom of about 5% patients with multiple sclerosis in central nervous system disorders. Posterior fossa structural abnormalities, neurodegenerative disorders, and epilepsy can also cause this symptom, that is vertigo. Migraine. Dizziness has long been known to occur among patients with migraine headache. Benign recurrent vertigo is usually a migraine equivalent because no other signs or symptoms develop over time. The neurological exam remains normal. The key distinguishing factor between migraine and Meniere's disease is the lack of progressive unilateral hearing loss in patients with migraine. Other types of dizziness are common in patients with migraine as well, including non-specific dizziness and positional vertigo. The causes of vertigo in a migraine patient is not yet known, but the diagnosis of migraine should be entertained in any patient with chronic recurrent attack of dizziness of unknown cause. Though the diagnosis of migraine associated dizziness remains one of exclusion, little else can cause recurrent episodes without any other symptoms over a long period of time. That's it from the presentation. This session is powered by Digital Version 2.0, Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University, Jaipur. Hope you are satisfied with this digital session. If you have any query, please mention in comment box. I will try to resolve it. Thank you very much.